My name is Dean Baker. I work for nobody. I'm retired, but I've been building the Ice Palace for 38 years now, and a few years ago the committee that's in charge of it said we need a new guy to take over because the other guy retired, and since I was retired and had the time to do it, I got the job.
Nice. Okay, so you've been doing it for a while.
I've been doing it for 38 years.
38 years. Wow. Okay. So in the beginning, how's it changed now versus when you started the actual construction of the castle? If you just walk us through that.
Okay, in the old days we still cut the ice out of the same place, but we had a different method of getting out of the ice. It was a chain link revolving chain, and it wasn't very effective. And when we got the ice out of the lake, we took tongs and we pulled it by hand or a snowmobile over to where the boat launch site is now.
Okay.
And we built using one crane. That was it. That's all we had. Nowadays we have an excavator with a claw on it, takes the ice out of the lake right here.
Okay.
We put it in the buckets of we had all kinds of equipment this year. We had several tractors, we had booms, we had a big crane. Luck Brothers of Plattsburgh donated a crane and an operator.
And what's the crew like? How many people do you have?
On average, we have about 100 people a year.
Mostly volunteers? All volunteers?
All volunteers.
All volunteers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we also have 2 crews from Mariah Shock incarceration camp.
Oh,
come out and help too.
Okay, that's awesome.
It is. They're a big help.
So I remember a couple years ago there was like tarps being thrown over.
Yeah.
Sawdust. Has there been more of that recently, or every year you have a thaw that you have to work through?
No, we used to count on a thaw about the middle of January, but we can't count on that anymore. It seems like every weekend there's a thaw instead of just for a week. That was 2016. We had the big tarps over everything. First time we ever tried that, and it worked.
Okay.
And we had that because a little rain doesn't hurt this at all. Turns it into one block ice. But we expected warm rain and wind, and wind and rain together makes big holes in it. So we covered it up. It worked very well. Saved the Ice Palace. We continued it. That's actually the year that a man came up and made a film about this.
Okay, nice. And this is obviously a big draw for Saranac Lake. So in your eyes, do you see less people coming when the palace isn't as grand, or it's like experience some sort of thaw?
That's hard to say. I come down here every morning and just clean up around, make sure that it's not too slippery or anything. But we have 2 big weekends, the first weekend and the second weekend of Winter Carnival. In between this time, you see people wandering in and out, but it's not big crowds. So it's hard to tell.
Okay. Yeah. And has the thickness of the ice blocks changed? Have you noticed
Well, let's put it this way. When we have a unwritten rule that we don't want to start until we have at least a foot of ice.
Okay.
We started with less. A couple of years ago, the ice got up to over 18 inches. It was very difficult to get out of the lake.
Oh, yeah, those are bigger, way heavier blocks.
It's heavier blocks, and our saw only cuts down 11 inches. So that means you got to saw a lot more by hand. There was one year, I think it was 2 years before I started working, that they had 36-inch ice.
What do you even...
And nobody wanted to work with that because when you're up on the wall and you try to pick your leg up to get up to the next level, you can lose your balance pretty easy.
Okay.
Big step.
Yeah. So is it taking longer in the season for the ice to reach the width that you're looking for? The thickness?
That's all weather dependent. It changes year to year. This year we had ice here in November, but it stayed about 10 inches for about a month.
Okay.
It didn't grow at all. And then as soon as we started cutting, it got thicker.
Okay.
So it worked out.
Okay, then where do you see this palace going in the future?
As long as the weather holds, we're going to build it. When I took over, the guy I took over from told me one thing. He said, "This is the centerpiece of the Winter Carnival. It's not the whole Winter Carnival, obviously. But he said it has to be built." And I said, "Geez, thanks for that. I'm really happy about all that responsibility."
Yeah.
But so far, we've been able to do it. There was one year, probably going on 20 years ago, when the weather got really, really bad. We had to tear it down twice and rebuild it.
Wow. Okay.
And that just made it a smaller palace.
Yeah, but it's always going to be built, weather permitting.
As long as there's ice, it'll be built. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dean.
You
Thanks
bet.
for having us. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Thank you.